So I watched this video where someone explains how despite the Necopara OVA having a more than successful fundraising campaign, nobody cared about it once it came out. So the question is, was it really successful? Turns out there are lots of different types of success, and when you hear something being successful, it's usually one, maybe two types only. It's otherwise unsuccessful in all the rest. So here are 6 types of success, and I will give you a couple of examples for each just to see what I'm talking about. Funding success, usually something that is overlooked by most, and yet it's the most fundamental thing any title must achieve in order to simply exist. The Dream Machine, for example, is in development hell because there is no interest after the director died. And then there are stuff like Mysticronexia, which managed to get enough funding to be made, and they call that a success. Being able to create something is not a big deal. Completion success. This is the other end of the spectrum, when the creators manage to fully adapt something and don't give up on it midway. It's actually a big plus, since very few studios bother to fully adapt something. They usually treat an adaptation as no more than infomercial and stop after a couple of seasons. This is why Legend of the Galactic Heroes can brag all at once about being fully adapted. It took 10 years to be done, and the result was amazing as a whole. Obviously, it's not worth it for every single show there is. Some things are better off left incomplete, such as the final season of Inuyasha. Yes, they did bother to fully adapt it many years later, but nobody cared at that point. So what kind of a success is it to create something nobody wants to check out? Integrity success. As an addition to the previous type, this has to do with being overall satisfied with the final product. Because in all honesty, most shows don't live up to the expectations, especially when there is a source material. The CGI Berserk is an obvious example. Not even the creators consider it a fine product. On the other hand, something like Monster is a faithful adaptation that stays true to the feel of the source material. That is an actual success. Financial success. Measuring how much money something makes is a thing they use a lot. Although down to it, it doesn't really mean anything other than the creators making money. Redline is a fantastic rule of cool movie that didn't get back all the money it cost. Does that make it worse than something like complete garbage like Fairy Tail, which has made millions? Popularity success. Now that's something that is overused. Measuring success by how many are talking about a show, as if that is an indication for anything other than how much you can dick write something for the money. Anyone who uses this excuse admits he's doing it just for the views. And lastly, relevancy success. That's basically when something manages to appeal to a large portion of people by being relatable or giving them the feels. What kind of a plus is that when you won't give a shit about it in a week? Yuri on Ice was the best anime when it was airing. Every queer person got X's much needed representation in anime. It won most of the Crunchyroll awards, and a month later nobody cares, because it wasn't relevant anymore, it was just a fad. Such is the case with most anime nowadays, which is why the retro classics always win, for being several decades old and people still remember them. That is the true success.
Black Clover has risen dramatically, really breaking the mold by using the mold as a mask to break through.
Every time something becomes successful or gets very popular, most rush to explain it as if it's very well made or subverting expectations, or the author is a genius who knows what he's doing. These are more like excuses than explanations. Success and popularity are mostly the result of a show managing to branch out wide enough to include many demographics that usually don't mingle.
Black Clover is getting the respect it deserves, it's changed a lot, it's grown a lot, the story has found its own footing.
The oldest known example of this is the original Star Wars trilogy. It was very well made and people were saying George Lucas is a genius and The Last Jedi subverted your expectations, but that is not what makes something popular. Pretty colors and supposed subversions can be helpful for attracting a lot of people at first, but most of them will drop out if there is nothing else besides that. The key factor is managing to attract as many people as possible from various demographics. And if you look at the type of people who were fond of Star Wars, you will see how it managed to attract pretty much everyone because it had a bit of everything. Once it got everyone's attention, the rest were essentially a domino effect. The more different types of people are into something, the more variety there will be in discussions, and the bigger the meta is going to end up being, resulting in a title to be remembered forever and to be evaluated much higher than it deserves.
Black Clover has risen, and the fandom triumphed through all of this and really made ways for the series to be popular.
The reason I am saying that is because the dick riders of the anime community always try to excuse the success of an anime as if it's the result of pure genius. Although that is a factor, what matters the most is attracting a lot of people from various demographics. Even if a show is brilliant in one and only one thing, then it's going to be liked by a very small number of people who like that very specific thing, and thus it will never be popular, it will never be financially successful, and nobody's going to be calling it the result of pure genius.
Black Clover, baby, we've done some amazing things.
My Hero Academia would not be nearly as popular if the thing was not about superheroes. Sword Art Online was popular for pandering gamers and thrill riders at a time when isekai and gamer-oriented anime were not a dime a dozen. Gintama was making fun of every anime, thus attracting fans of every anime. Even less creative tricks are enough to add to popularity. Having a high school in the setting magically makes everything more relatable to every teenager. Having cute girls magically makes whatever the show is about to be liked by roneries. Having a mystery about what is going on magically makes the show more captivating for those who want to know.
Asta turns out not being connected to nobody. He breaks the shonen mold.
And obviously what matters even more than premises, themes and tropes is promotion. A show needs to be advertised as much as possible, otherwise it won't manage to attract people, even if it has everything they would love in it. That means a lot of money for advertisement and a lot of fans constantly yelling about how amazing it is. Thus, every time you find someone trying to explain why a specific show is amazing because of execution or genius or subversion, don't believe him, he's a dick rider. It only comes down to pandering as many people as possible by advertising something as much as possible. The rest don't matter much.
Black Clover is still always that greatness, baby.
I found this thread that was mentioning a truth I hadn't looked into so far. It's about people thinking they can experience the exact same thing the exact same way, which is impossible. Your memories and impressions about something are heavily influenced by the specific circumstances you experienced that something. Your age, your emotional state, your social standing, your moral beliefs, your expectations, your exposure to the stereotypes and many more factors. It's a very specific blend of 100 factors which are impossible to replicate in the exact same way because you are in a slightly different physical and mental condition every few hours. That means you can never experience the exact same thing twice, no matter how much you try to replicate the exact same conditions. And that includes a self-inflicted amnesia. In a similar fashion, you cannot replicate the conditions under which a specific movie or series managed to be famous or profitable. The reason reboots and remakes fail to have the appeal of the originals is because the world is constantly changing and the reasons people liked something changed along with it. Whatever fond memories someone has of an older title cannot be relived in the exact same way because everything has changed. Same thing goes for movies and series that are trying to become famous or profitable by imitating other titles which are famous or profitable. The isekai fad which began with Sword Art Online never managed to produce an isekai more famous and profitable than Sword Art Online, despite several isekai being better narrative-wise. Bottom line, you cannot pre-plan success by copying a previous success. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the truth. Gold standards for what counts as good writing do not change overnight. 1 + 1 makes 2 no matter how many times you do the math. This topic is about emotions and profit, not objective criteria for what counts as great.